Hey guys, this is David Portman from the Starter team here at Preservica. We're just going to give the folks a few more minutes to join, but I thought while we're waiting for everyone, why not say hello to us? Use the chat function on the GoToWebinar toolbar, pop in a quick hello, be good to hear from you, let us know where you are. I'm here in the UK, in Oxford, and also joined by your host today, which is Laurie Ashley. Hey Laurie.
Hi David, and I'm joining from southeastern Wisconsin where it's cold and snowy.
Yes, it's a little warmer here in the UK. We don't quite get your weather systems here, but not quite spring yet. But I see a few people are popping some things in. There's Barry from Arizona, Peter from New York. Great to have you on, guys. So let's just give people another 10 seconds or so. While we're waiting for everyone to join, we have got a large amount of starter users on the call today. So what we're going to do is have a Q&A at the end of the session today. You can use the chat function, which I can see a lot of you have already explored with your hellos and where you're from. So use the chat function, ask any questions you've got as we go through. We'll do our best to get through the questions at the end of the session today. If we don't get to your question today, we're going to post it on the Starter Community Forum in a new section called Training Resources to cover all of that at the end of today's session. But don't worry, we will get your answers back to you. We are recording the session today. So if you missed something, you want to recap, and for those that couldn't make it today, we're going to put that recording up on the training resources section as well. And I think it's looking like we've got a good few people on now. So I think, Laurie, if you're ready, let's get started with today's training. Oh, and one more thing, sorry, just before I hand over, you can see the social tag there on the screen. So you can just talk about, share, if you're enjoying the training, put it on social, let us know what you think. And there's also a little pop-up there. If anyone is potentially having audio problems, which does sometimes happen, this is a live event, then they can follow the instructions there and should be able to listen along. Okay, with that then, I'll be back with you at the Q&A. Over to you, Laurie.
Thank you, David. Let's go ahead here. Get the slide advanced. Oh, there we go. Welcome everyone, and thank you, David. My name is Laurie Ashley, and I am like to welcome you as well. I'll be joined shortly by my colleagues Andrew French and Michaela Hagel. Together, we are going to facilitate these training sessions that have been designed to help you move forward in building your digital archive with Starter. Just a note, as David said, there are hundreds of new users on the webinar, so we do not expect you to follow along with Andrew's demonstration using your own Starter system. So please sit back, enjoy the tour, and thanks in advance for your attention. Whoops, sorry about that. Here we go. Okay, so you are registered for the 4 training sessions on the topics that you see listed here. All the training sessions will be recorded and available with a PDF of the slides and a handout in the Resource Center shortly after each session. Thanks to feedback from beta testers and early adopters, we have a really clear sense of the information that you need to jumpstart your digital preservation journey using Starter. That includes these folks, who are all members of the beta testing cohort. You'll hear directly from your peers about their Starter experience in all of the training sessions, tour their digital archives, and get some free advice. So now on to your Starter journey. You represent a spectrum of professional disciplines, collections, and institutions that serve many different communities of content contributors and users. Regardless of whether you are a student, a seasoned professional, a lone arranger, or part of a specialized preservation team in a large enterprise, They are undoubtedly digitized and born digital collections that require your attention and preservation action. The backlog of digital materials needing preservation is compounded by the skyrocketing use of online communication, learning, and collaboration platforms, making the connection to your resources and your expertise more important than ever. As you'll see shortly in Andrew's demonstration, Preservica Starter Edition was designed to digitally enable the archival processes you see along the preservation road. We hope it will help you to meet the challenges and opportunities facing your repository. So here's the lineup for today's training session. At the end of this hour, we hope you will feel comfortable uploading digital assets to your repository and managing an online collection. Last week, we asked new starter users about themselves, so you see their roles and titles in the word cloud here. So let's do that poll again. Please pick the best option that describes your role.
So guys, I'm just pushing the poll live, so you should be able to see it. So send in your votes.
Thanks, David. While we wait for the results to tabulate, I'll share a bit about my own personal digital preservation journey, which began in 2006 when I enrolled at the Cornell University Library Workshop on Digital Preservation Management. I'm sure you know the one, the three-legged stool, and the 5 organizational stages of digital preservation, a program that was developed by Nancy McGovern and Ann Keeney. I was a self-employed records management consultant at the time and had recognized the general lack of urgency about the preservation of electronic business and government records. Fast forward to 2017 when I joined the Preservica team, where I helped to document the many use cases for digital preservation that we hear from customers and practitioners. And here we have the results. A great group. Thank you. Now you know who you are and who's on the call. So let's move forward. We also asked about your motivation and plans. You see the questions and results here. I'd like to address a couple of these items before handing over to Michaela. So who is Preservica? This is our company mission statement. We are part of a global community working to find preservation solutions to the world's increasing reliance on digital information. Please consider sharing your repository's mission by typing it into the chat while I continue. Thank you. So Preservica shares your passion for protecting, preserving, and providing accessibility to unique and valuable resources. Our roots in the field date back to 2003 when a small team, headed by our founder, John Tilbury, worked on a research and collaboration project with the United Kingdom National Archives. The picture you see on the left is a Doomsday Book, a 900-year-old land survey ordered by William the Conqueror and Britain's earliest public record. Preservica's project team saw the original vellum book and were told it was still readable by anyone with the right credentials and a command of medieval Latin. The challenge for the National Archives was whether someone reading an official public record in Microsoft 2003 would be able to read it in 900 years' time. That project resulted in the creation of Pronom, a searchable public technical registry, and Droid, a file format identification tool, both of which continue in use today. Through the series of increasingly challenging digital archive projects, collaboration with thought leaders and practitioners, by listening to our customers and aligning our solution to evolving standards like the ones you see pictured on the right, Preservica's active preservation platform evolved, leading to the launch of our SaaS solution in 2012. We have a suite of products running on that same powerful platform to serve small, medium, and large repositories. Today, our software is used by public, private, and voluntary sector organizations around the world to preserve hundreds of millions of unique digital assets. So at Preservica, we understand a lot about the essential work you do and the preservation capabilities you need. We also recognize that there can be barriers, such as funding, time, access to tools, and stakeholder support to building and sustaining a digital archive. Since the 1970s, archivists and data scientists have worked to identify and mitigate risks associated with technology obsolescence. More recently, a number of prominent industry analyst firms have joined the chorus. What does it all mean? The digital preservation actions must be taken over the lifetime of long-term and permanent electronically stored information. So it's Preservica's objective to help remove obstacles to active digital preservation by introducing a fully integrated, easy-to-use system with the ingest, migration, metadata management, and access tools that practitioners like you need up front. Foundational practices like the ones you see listed here are baked into Starter, which Andrew will show you in a few moments. I hope that these training sessions will help you to make the most of your Starter digital archive. And now let me turn over the floor to Michaela. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laurie. So I'm Michaela Heigl, product manager on the Starter product. Preservica Starter is really the fruit of years of listening to archivists and records managers. Many of you have told us that you need a system that is easy to use and affordable, so you can preserve your most valuable assets, make a case for digital preservation, and showcase your archive to donors, students, or the public, depending on the nature of your archive and collections. We have created Starter for busy archivists in US higher education and for government records managers who need a quick and easy solution to keep their records safe. We wanted to make it easy to get started. Starter is entirely browser-based. There is nothing to install, and it is a free product. But you can upgrade as your needs grow and your archive expands. And whilst it has a drag and drop interface and is fun and intuitive to use, it is based on Preservica's powerful digital preservation platform, which means that your files will be kept safe for decades to come. The free online portal enables you to showcase your digital collections, and there are a number of tools making it easy to add descriptions to your assets and collections. We have co-designed this product with a group of archivists like you who reviewed the product in the early stages and provided valuable feedback. We are keen to continue this concept, and I will invite you later on to become part of this program so you too can help shape the future of Starter, especially with a view to new use cases and personas. Go to the next slide, please, Laurie. My colleague Andrew will present the main capabilities of Starter in the demo you will see in a minute. But before we dive in, I just wanted to highlight the main areas of the product he will take you through, so you're absolutely clear on what you can achieve with the product, whether you want to curate, share, or showcase your collections. With Starter, you can safeguard your most valuable assets by uploading them to the Starter system. You can then organize these into collections or folders and enrich them through metadata. Decide what gets displayed on the public portal, then showcase your collections and view reports about your repository on a handy dashboard. And now over to Andrew for a demo of Starter.
Thanks, Michaela. Hi, everyone. I'm Andrew French. I am the Director of Solutions Architecture at Preservica, and today I'm going to take you through a practical step of beginning a digital preservation journey with Preservica Starter. And before we start, I do have a poll question for you. And the question is, have you had a chance to log into Starter yet? And feel free to let us know how you're getting along. If you did stop, we'd love to know specifically where and why. Was there a problem? Was there not enough time? Tell us a story, and feel free to add that to the chat if you like as well. And we'll give you a moment to do that. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. And now I will share my screen and I will begin the demonstration. All right, David, can you confirm that you can see my screen really quick?
Yes, we can, Andrew.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so everyone, today we're going to review all the major steps in Starter, from login, selecting and ingesting your files, basic arrangement and description, sharing and access, plus reporting tools you can use on day one. As you heard earlier from Michaela, these best practice steps were created based on feedback from our beta and early adopter users. Everything I'm going to show you today is available for free in the first tier of Starter. We do not expect you to follow along in your system today during the live session, but we will be sending you a file to use to complete the workflows yourself after the demo. So if you're watching the recording, feel free to use the pause button and follow along. If you haven't logged in yet, it's super simple. Because this is a cloud-based system, Starter will work from your web browser. We test actively on Chrome, Firefox, and IE, as well as mobile devices. And I will log in here with my credentials that were sent to me after sign up. And I'm in, I have logged in. Now, this is a single user system intended to get you started with preservation at your institution. That means one user at a time, no concurrent users, though we will make additional user seats available at higher tiers of Starter. Because Starter bootstraps you in place with best practices, which we'll go over in a moment, there really isn't too much to configure in terms of administration. It's really sign in and go, with a couple admin features such as the option here to, up top, change my password, and a light and dark theme. Other menu options include the ability to expand my navigation menu, as you can see over here on the left-hand side, so I can see more information. I have a search feature, so I can find and retrieve all my preserved content, a dedicated link out to the support and user forum, and a button that lets me see the details about my preservation workflows. And we'll come back to these in a little bit. And of course, I can always log out. Starter also features a dashboard of reports that I can access by clicking on the icon or the full name right over here. Now, if the goal of Preservica Starter is to kickstart digital preservation and demonstrate the benefit of preservation to your institution, this can be a helpful tool to highlight on a tablet or share in a message to your stakeholders. You can easily show files that have recently been migrated to a best practice format, content that you have enriched with metadata here in Preservica, and helpful workflow reports such as recently deleted files, a quick review of all the file formats being preserved with Starter today. You can see your previous logins. I can see the amount of storage that I'm using today, and a quick access to my resource library and a jump into my public portal. As I mentioned before, we do include a free public access portal, which is different than what you're seeing here in Explore, to highlight and promote your collections to your organization. Now, digital preservation is a practice, traditionally consisting of multiple tools to analyze and support your collections. Our goal in making Starter was to unify these tools into a series of routines that run behind the scenes so you can get started as quickly as possible with the goal of adding more options as your practice grows. So when I want to ingest my digitally born and digitized content for preservation, I can drag and drop, or I can use the add feature. So I'll show you here in Explorer. We have the add feature here to add a file or a zip folder from my computer or network. And I will do that now. I'll do it by dragging and dropping. I'll go to my desktop and I have a WordPerfect file over here that I've had trouble opening. I cannot access this on my computer today. So I'll drag and drop and bring that over into Preservica. I'll go back to full screen and that's it. So again, today I cannot access this file. You may have many files like this today on your devices that you cannot access. You don't have the tools to do so. So the goal is to put that into Preservica and see if we can help you with that. You do not need to put your content into archival packages ahead of time. Starter is aligned to the Open Archival Information System or the OAIS model, and will build your archival package structure for you automatically behind the scenes. And please do note that higher tiered versions of Preservica do support adding archival packages and also integrate with archival catalogs such as ArchiveSpace as well. The ingest workflow, as you just saw here, it creates notifications showing the status. So important preservation routines such as characterization, normalization, storage diversification and migration, as well as virus and fixity checks and saving content in archival packages are included out of the box and designed to best practices in digital preservation. Starter also performs full text indexing and thumbnail generation for you automatically. Starter can actively identify over 1,900 unique file formats contributed both by the Pronoun Registry and by Preservica's dev team. That means Starter is able to identify or characterize your content automatically and then take actions upon that information. Note that the content is in my system now, and an asset has been created, which contains my digital file and also contains the descriptive, technical, and structural metadata that I need for the long-term preservation. So the first thing I'm going to see when I open this file is the metadata tab. Now, the metadata tab allows me to edit the descriptive metadata for the asset that I just ingested natively here in the system, and I will show that workflow coming up in the arrangement and description stage. First, note the option for me to download my asset, to delete my asset, see the history of the asset, all the actions that have happened to this asset while it's in my custody, and I can also switch to a public view of my asset here, which we'll be seeing in the later section. The other tab up top is the preservation history. This is where I can see that my digital file is safe in the cloud. So to diversify storage, Preservica Starter creates 3 copies of your content in the cloud at 3 geographically different data sites, each containing 3 different sets of hardware as an automatic safeguard for disaster recovery. Starter will continually perform fixity checking on your content, and if there are any issues, Starter will self-heal a damaged copy from one of the last successful checks. And here is my original file that I ingested. We have here my WordPerfect format, and note that to ensure long-term preservation of my data, Starter automatically generates preservation and access copies of my digital data to a recommended stable format, not based on what Preservica as a company thinks, but based on best practices and feedback that come from a preservation community, including archival testing, conferences, and journals as well. This is a major device in preservation, creating a practical strategy to migrate my files to increasingly stable formats over time to ensure data integrity and keep my data in the best shape possible for the future. So Starter organizes this information as generations to organize my preservation representations, as you can see up top here, and my access copies, according to archival research and scholarship. The preservation copies include my original WordPerfect format and helps to ensure long-term data integrity over time. In this case, as a result of the migration, Starter has also created an open document format automatically. And this is a format with fewer preservation risks for the long term. It has also created an access representation as a PDF, and this is what my end users will see in the public view when we get there a little bit later on, as PDFs today also provide for quality access and are easily accessed by browsers. Additional migration features, including the option to control and customize migration rules and to make additional generations, are available in higher tiers of Preservica. Note that Starter will not make migrations for all assets, especially if they are low risk or if best practice preservation plans have not been accepted by the community. I can also see additional technical metadata extracted by Starter by clicking on the Advanced Information tab for each of the files. Note that Starter also generates additional technical metadata, such as permanent unique identifiers for each asset and folder, which we'll mention later on in the public section. And that's so important, of course, when we want to post these links into our finding aids or into catalogs where we want to link to items directly and to view those and render our content immediately. And speaking of rendering, I can always view my renderable content by clicking on the eye icon right up top here for my content. And then now I can access content that I may not have had access to before. I can also download other versions from Starter if I want to. I can download the original copies that I showed in a moment ago, the open format and the PDF as well. In the rendering view, I can zoom and rotate images. I can watch movies, listen to audio, or I can scroll through documents like this. I can open up a table of contents legend. I can search the full text of a document. Here I can look for pollution and see all the occurrences of pollution throughout the document and highlight where those occur. I can go full screen, or I can print the document as well. Okay. Now, let's address the arrangement and description of content in Preservica Starter. If your collections are already stored in a specific hierarchical structure, or if you want to organize and arrange them, Starter's folders represent collections, sub-collections, or just folders to hold your content. And to add a new folder, I can click on the Add button up top here and create a new folder. And I'll do that right now. I'm going to create a new folder, and we'll call this, they just uploaded a land permit application guide. I'll call this land permits. And we'll call this land permits from 2010 through 2020, just for my own helpful reference. And I'll create that folder here. And I can then drag and drop assets into the folders and also create subfolders if needed to build out my collection hierarchy. So I'll drag and drop, put that into land permits and move content over here as well. And again, you can build subfolders in the system. You can create and recreate your structures that you already have in your system if you wish to keep that helpful organization. And what I'll do here once more is to prove that, create one more folder, and we'll call this my application guides. That's really what this is an application guide. And I'll create a folder. Now, right-clicking on a folder will also allow me to see information you've already seen so far. I can upload new files to this location. I can upload a zipped folder. I can edit the folder and delete the folder as well. So now I have two folders in my system, one for land permits and one for special collections. Note that you can also, you might have seen this a moment ago, I can toggle the public and private view for both collections and assets in Preservica. So here is my special collections collection. It's a collection where I have various file formats related to special collections. And right-clicking on this, I can toggle the private and public status, which allows me to control whether the content is made visible in my public access view. So here I have my special collections folder public to the world, as you can see right down here, because I want to make this visible. I want to share this data and make it easily searchable. All right, let's go back to our land asset really quick. So returning to this, I want to show you the other tab, which we reviewed and skipped over just a moment ago, which is that metadata tab. Starter supports the use of two metadata descriptors derived from Dublin Core and mods. And the goal here is to provide a way for you to get started right away and preserve as easily and accurately as possible. And Dublin Core is the standard, which is used probably the most widely in the greatest number of industries and disciplines. So I can go in here and call this the land permit guide. We'll give it a year, we'll just say 2020. And you can add as much or as little information as you have about the resource, and I'll save that, and it's now saved and it will be visible in the front end as well. We added the mods template as an option to capture rich metadata here as well. So if you have rich metadata, if you want to add more advanced information to your content, please feel free to use this and do so. Please note that if you're just getting started, you do not need to be perfect with your metadata. The goal here is to get moving and knowing that you can make edits later on as well. All of the metadata here is searchable in the default search bar, including any full text as well, as Starter performs indexing of all your ingested content. So this is also searchable by Starter. All of your content can also be downloaded upon request, including your metadata. We'll have more about metadata in next week's webinar about Starter and metadata. All right, let's now return to the dashboard, and I want to show the option to jump again into the Access portal. And now we'll click on this and we'll go over here. Starter provides a public portal for you to highlight your preserved content in digital collections and the accompanying metadata out of the box here. The portal serves as a view for end users who would not have the professional access to Starter that you'd want them to, including the dashboard features that you've seen so far. So really, after building, preserving, and describing my content in the Explorer view of the system, this public view provides features of the assets and collections that I've chosen, again, to make public. And this is what you'll end up with, a fully populated archive. Your public-facing community can now see this in the system. This interface is designed to enable my users both a browse and search option for your content. As an end user, I can change the view from table view or card view. Here's a table view, and here's a card view. And as you've seen so far in my navigation, Starter does support browsing your collections. I can also see where I am by viewing the breadcrumb trail up top here as well. I have a number of sort options. I can sort by type, title, description, and date. I can also limit by the format groups as well. I have JPEGs in here, PDFs, I have MP3s and MP4s, and more that I can see and expand. And we'll be adding more facets automatically over here on the left-hand side in the future as well. Now, I can also search within a very specific collection. In this case, I can search just within my special collections folder to surface content. So in this case, I'm going to search for one of my assets here on propaganda and do that search now. Oops. And we'll surface content that may be coming from full text or from metadata that I've added in my system so far. And here is an asset. It's a wartime collection published in 1944 from the American Historical Association on what is propaganda, and it's a pamphlet that's currently at this copy came from the University of Richmond in Virginia, also a Preservica customer. All right, let's return back to our results here. I can also search my entire repository as well by clicking on the spyglass up top in the right-hand corner. This will allow me to search all the different collections across the board. I can search for Douglas and retrieve content that might be in different folders. In this case, I can see the life and times of Frederick Douglass. I have a copy of the content here coming from Wikisource, and I can scroll through and read this book here natively in the system. The content I load into Preservica, remember, I may not have had the tools at the time to view the content or even licensing to view the content anymore, again, such as WordPerfect that we can see now in Starter. We have rendering tools for moving images. I can show you a movie here for ice maps from, this is from NASA, the ISAT's acquisition of Antarctic elevation. I can also see and listen to audio natively in Starter here as well. We have an excerpt from MLK's I've Been to the Mountaintop in the system. You won't be able to hear this clip, but I can click on it here and show you. When I click on play, it's playing the audio for me right now. And we also can see a really great AV viewer here as well built into Starter. In this case, we have a copy of a letter to Walt Whitman from Oscar Wilde that I can open up and see some really good details on this content as well. And here it is. I can click on the letter and I can view it. I can go into full screen if I want to, or I can zoom way in and see some really good information that perhaps might have escaped me before in this viewer. I mentioned before that every item in Preservica also does include a permanent identifier. So this link up here is permanent, even if the item is moved to different collections and changed where it might live. This will always point to the item. So I can put it into a catalog field, or I can put it into a libguide and easily direct people to my content stored in Starter. If someone loves an item, they want to share it, we absolutely have sharing features. We can share in Facebook, as email, in Twitter. I can also download and I can like this item as well. So if I like something, I can return to it later on in my favorites for the session and download all the items that I favorited so far if I want to. There will be opportunities for branding in a coming training. We'll talk about that momentarily. I think we have a slide at the end as well talking about this. But what I want to show you here, lastly, is you might have seen this as a contact form, both at the top and at the footer. We do include also in Starter a contact button to enhance the communication with your users and yourselves. So you have a contact form that you can also have promoting for your institution. So please go ahead and try these features out today. We encourage you to please go ahead and get started. And I will stop sharing, and I believe we have a slide here from David. Perfect, thank you. So today I've shown you how fun and easy it is to use Starter. We can see here that we have the option to download a worksheet from the training resources section on the community forum. So please go ahead and try that out and follow along, and we can track progress there. For those that haven't gotten started yet, this will help everyone jumpstart really wherever you are in your journey. And don't forget, we do have support tools built in, including the user forum, to help if you have any questions. So thank you for joining this part and watching the demo. And now I'll pass things back over to Michaela.
Thank you so much, Andrew. So Andrew has shared with you what can be achieved on Starter within a matter of minutes. I hope this has been a really useful a demo for all of you, I now have the pleasure to introduce you to one of our beta testers, Rebecca Davis from Limestone County, who will show you what she has achieved on Starter in a number of weeks.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Davis. I'm the archivist at the Limestone County Archives in Athens, Alabama. It's a local government archives where we have government records dating back to 1818, as well as non-government records such as photos and postcards and so on, that all related to Limestone County history. And I'm also a user of Starter by Preservica. Just to tell you a little bit about why I got started using Starter by Preservica. First of all, it's free. I mean, just to be honest, you have nothing to lose, or I had nothing to lose by giving it a shot. You know, I get 5 gigabytes of preservation. Everybody does for free just by registering an account. And that was a great way to get started with preserving what we have and to understanding the ins and outs of digital preservation. Another great opportunity was just to be a beta tester of the product. The folks at Preservica gave me a call and said, hey, would you like to test it out? See what you think. Tell us what we could do better. And I was like, I can always tell people what to do better. I and many other people have provided feedback that I think has helped hone this product into being something that is really useful for people in small shops like mine, just a 2-person shop, local government, small universities, that type of thing, that may not be ready to go whole hog into the full version of Preservica. Now, the second reason that we wanted to use Starter by Preservica for our collections is we have a lot of really great stuff, but they were not easily accessible, they were not easily searchable. So Preservica offered a way for us to be able to change that. The third reason that we wanted to use Starter by Preservica is that our digital records are stored on servers, but they just haven't really been preserved, and in a way that we know is going to be sustainable and is up to standard. And so this is Preservica offers a way for us to do that in a way that's accessible and understandable. So now I want to talk a little bit about how we chose which records that we want to put into Starter and how we prioritized those decisions. We started with the low-hanging fruit. So we had some important collections that were already digitized. Our postcard collection that a lot of great photos, picture postcards of historic landmarks of Limestone County, as well as the Looney collection, which has nothing to do with the crazy people of Limestone County. It's all about a man named Frank Looney, who his family donated his large collection of photos that he had either taken or collected over the years of Limestone County landmarks and people and events. And many of those had already been digitized and identified, and we had great metadata already available to us that had actually never been entered into any sort of system, content management system either. And so that was really easy to just drag and drop it right in. The second priority, which is pretty close after the first, is transitioning our government records, because really that is our primary impetus for being, is to preserve those Limestone County government records that date back to the county's founding in 1818. And those were already digitized from microfilm and available already on our site, but it's a very complicated system that our patrons have a hard time using. And so being able to move those records, which are each page is its own TIFF file. It was just this massive amount of content, but to be able to streamline those into multi-page PDFs that I could then pull into Starter, and someone who wants to look through that can just open the whole book up in Preservica in Starter and just scroll right down through the pages, read it just like you would like a Kindle book or whatever. And then the third priority that we have for our records is the ones that are just most used, most needed, most requested. We get the most questions about. A lot of this has to do with the articles that I've written and the videos that I've made that often answer a lot of the questions that people have about Limestone County history and want to call me up or email me or want to ask these questions, and that gets it out there. And one of the things we were able to do then is, for example, if there's an article written about the former mayor, Charles Sarver, who now supposedly is a ghost, then I have the article about Mr. Sarver, and I have it cross-referenced to the photo of Mr. Sarver. And so people can be able to have a more enriching experience of using our website by going to our digital archives that we have powered by Starter. When it comes to getting things prepared to upload into Preservica, that's really the easy part. For example, the postcard collection. All of those postcards had already been digitized or scanned in, and were just hanging out in a folder. And so I was able to just go to my Preservica admin portal. I just dragged it from my folder on my desktop over into Preservica and dropped it. And there it is. It shows you the ingest and it goes right in. And so getting things ready, my part of actually getting them ready to upload is really the hard part. Uploading them, just a cinch. It's just like that. I mean, literally as quick as that. So that's the easy part. One thing to keep in mind is help is always literally just a click away. If you ever get stumped, if you can't figure out what to do next, that's what this handy dandy little question mark is for. Click on that and they're here to help. You can search for what you're looking for, or you can scroll down through. You can see all these different questions that are answered, topics that are covered in the knowledge base. There's community forums where people are asking questions and answering. There's release notes. So help is always just right there when you need it, anytime you need help as you're getting going with Preservica. Now, this is where it gets nerdy. One of my favorite things about this is actually being able to just add the metadata, which I know makes me sound like a super archives nerd, and I am not ashamed. So this is, once I have everything uploaded, it's so easy in the portal to be able to move things around, to add the metadata, and to add folder level and item level metadata. And so, like I said, we had a lot of records, especially like postcards or the Looney collection, where he wrote extensive notes on the backs of his photos, or in the on the envelopes, on the outside envelopes that he had put his photos in. And so we were able to finally add in all the notes he had made about what was there and what had been there before and what it was a picture of, everything. And so being able to really connect the record with its actual context and pull it all together into a pretty little package and tie a bow on top, it just really made it, like I said, kind of exciting to me. But that's just the archives nerd in me, I suppose. So now I want to show you a little bit about how we are using this for outreach and education. Let's say I want to do a search for something popular in Limestone County history. We'll say the square, because that is the center of our town and our history. Here's one of the scenes of the public square in 1910. I can like it. I can download it so I have it for my very own. I can save it to my desktop there and have a copy of it. I can, yeah, there it is. And then I can go back and I can share it on Twitter and tell all my friends about this beautiful picture I found. I can do the same by sharing on Facebook, create a post that links back to the archives, digital archives page. I can send it via email. I can send a link to it, tell my friends, hey, check this out. This is something you might be interested in. And then let's say I want to branch out a little bit more and do a search for everything that was going on in Athens and Limestone County in 1920, 100 years ago. This is something that teachers in particular are doing 100 years ago with their kids, and we have things organized by decade. So a search for 1920 would get you to all these different resources of information and photos and videos and articles about Limestone County in 1920. As you scroll down through there, you can take a look, see what we have, and that takes you to the different articles and pictures and so on. Here's a postcard of the Limestone County Courthouse with a crowd around it in 1920, and I can do the same with all those different resources. So that kind of shows you it's really easy to use and it's easy to get started. And so with that said, I just want to encourage everyone who has signed up, registered for a starter account, to just jump in there and do it. And so there's no time like the present. I mean, the best time to have gotten started for me would have been 10 years ago when I started at the Limestone County Archives, but there's no time like today. So with that said, just go for it. Put your 5 gigabytes of data in there and have a ball.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, David. I guess you can hear me all again, right?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Great, fantastic. So I wanted to take this opportunity. I thought this was a good opportunity to actually thank all our beta testers that have contributed so much to the success of Starter. You will hear from more users in the upcoming training sessions. So you've heard what has been achieved so far, but we're not stopping here. These are some of the new features that you can expect in the near future, representing the main capabilities of Starter. Your success and input are important to us. These are the features we identified as a result of our beta feedback sessions. However, we're now inviting you to tell us about your ideas. So please raise them in the community forum or send us a mail. We've got the details here at the bottom of the slide. As we continue to improve Starter for the whole archival community, and we very much invite you to be part of it and make your contribution. So please write to us, let me know how you're getting on. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, Michaela. Lori Ashley back here just to reinforce that resources and help are available to you anytime. We have a dedicated resource section for our starter users. There's a knowledge base, videos to help you get started. These training resources from these 4 sessions will be posted there shortly after, the PDF of the slide deck, the recording, and then the try this tip sheet that Andrew shared with you. So we invite you to stop back into the Resource Center on a regular basis. We have stories and blogs and other things that will help to enrich your starter experience and keep you on your digital preservation journey. Our next session is coming up in just a week's time. We hope that you'll be able to join us. We will be joined by Rachel Walton, who's a digital records manager at Rollins College. And as Andrew had said, we're going to focus on, assuming that you can get some content into your system, we're going to guide you in arranging and rearranging your collections and enriching the metadata that you have in your system. So please join us next Wednesday, same time, same station. See you then.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Laurie, Andrew, and Michaela. So we're going to move on to questions in just a second, as we said. But just before we do, I just wanted to introduce a bit of an incentive. So as you go through the training over the next few weeks, you will gain experience and you will gain skills, but all combined to help you go out there, build your digital archive and build your public portals. And we've already seen, what can be achieved in such a short amount of time from Rebecca Davis just a few minutes ago. But what we're going to do is offer you the opportunity to enter or submit a link to your public portal. We'll have a panel of judges, which will be made up of the speakers that Laurie introduced you to at the start of this session, speakers including Rebecca and others that will be featuring the training series over the next few weeks. They will sit down, base their judgment on the criteria that's listed on the screen there, and select the best 21 portals, which we will brand free of charge, using assets and any wording that you provide to us. That is normally a Starter Plus feature or a paid feature as part of the upgrade. But we'd like you to put your new skills into action, into practice. And what we'll do is we'll add those to an online showcase or Hall of Fame once they've been judged and selected. So we'll give more details in the coming weeks. It's still first part of the training, but just something to think about and work towards as we step through the next 4 or 5 weeks of training. Okay, so on to questions. I can see there are quite a lot, as we'd expect with a large group. As I said, we will do our best to get through as many questions as we can in the time we've got, and anything we don't get through in the session today, don't worry, we will answer it and we will put it into that training resources section that Laurie just talked about there on the community forum. So you can go in, you can see other questions that are asked and the answers to those questions. And of course, as Michaela said, we're always here to respond to any questions, comments, and input feedback on starter.info@preservica.com. Okay, so I think one of the first questions that's probably a good place to start is on public sharing features. Can these be enabled and disabled? Andrew?
Yes, great question. So about the public and private toggle, I mentioned in the demo, and if this is the recording, you can go back and watch this as well. When I was pointing out, when you click on the folder, you can choose whether or not an item is public or private, and that will toggle whether or not it appears in that front end mini discovery tool that we include with Preservica. That also works on the assets as well. So be sure you have the right assets and folders, public and private. If things are private, they will only be seen when you log in as your user into the Explorer interface that we've seen here today. That's how we can keep that content separate here in Starter.
Okay, great. And while you're on, Andrew, another question: does Preservica reduce file size?
That's a great question. Same as before, when you go back in the recording to watch this, and the point of the system where I'm showing the preservation history tab, you can see the original files are there. The goal in preservation really is to keep the original file exactly as it was at the point of ingest. We want to prove that things are being kept, to their best properties, right? To the original content that existed. We are making access copies when possible, and as you saw in the WordPerfect format, also open formats as well that are good for long-term preservation of the content as well. We do not reduce the size, but for example, if you give us the WordPerfect format, upon access, you might get the PDF file, which could be probably will be a different size, but the original is still in there and the size has not changed.
Okay, great, thank you. Someone's asked, can you provide links to resources section where the recording and PDF will be available? Yes, I will send a follow-up email with links to all of those assets that we've talked through and the recording and PDF of the slides today. Okay, so does the amount of storage used also divide this up by file format or type of media?
Yes, so for every file in Starter, that does count against the overall storage of the system, yes.
Okay, is there a way to prevent downloads of items on the public site?
Ooh, good question. In the default view right now, there is not. If it's public, it is downloadable. That's how it is today, that's right.
Okay, and maybe one here for Michaela, looking at kind of future roadmap and development. Will there eventually be configuration options to use an emulation strategy rather than a normalization strategy, or
That's a great
both
question.
at once?
That's a great question. So for digital preservation, there are different philosophies for long-term preservation, they including emulation and migration. As a company in general, Preservica does tend towards we find migration to be a more practical strategy for long-term preservation. So we do have migration features included. Right now, we do not have emulation features, although some of our customers that are using the full versions of Preservica have integrated with different emulation tools as well. So we can talk more about that perhaps offline.
Okay, great, thank you, Andrew. Will I be able to download and share the recorded lecture with my archivists and collection managers at a later date? Yes, absolutely. Okay, here's one on metadata. Are Dublin core fields customizable?
Ooh, that's a great question. Michaela, I might bring you up here in the video as well. Right now, the first version of Preservica, they are not. The idea is to get content in, get started, test out preservation in your institution, make the case for preservation, and we are evaluating for future versions what custom metadata might look like in the system. In the full Preservica version, of course, we definitely have custom metadata anywhere and everywhere.
That's absolutely right. So for now, we've got the fields that we've got, and you cannot customize it, yes, but it's something we're looking at towards in the future.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, guys. Can Starter harvest any metadata that is already embedded in a file? In particular, our archives has an IPTC metadata embedded in TIFF files.
It's a great question. We do automatically with Preservica harvest some subsets of IPTC and EXIF metadata automatically from files, and that really depends on what we have in our format registry and what we're pulling out of the content. I think you saw before when I opened up that open document format, there were a number of features we're able to extract from that document. If you're adding additional ones, we'll have to double check and see if those match up, because of course those tools that we use for extracting metadata will be different depending on the format, of course. And being this is a starter system, we'll see which ones are going to be in this first version.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Andrew. There's a question here on pricing for the different tiers or the different editions and versions of Starter. So we'll reach out to you on that one. You can always send any inquiries into starter.info@preservica.com, and there's also options on the website to contact us if upgrades are something you're looking at or would like to learn more about. Okay, here's another one on metadata. Can you batch in the metadata?
Ooh, I think I'll also pass this over to Michaela.
If you're talking about bulk metadata editing, I guess, yes, this will be possible in the future. It's one of the upcoming features on the roadmap. So that will allow you to update individual fields, so several individual fields on the Dublin core or mods metadata.
Okay, superb. Another one for you, Michaela, here. Does the URL always have all of the numbers and letters as a prefix?
I can take that one as well. So in the URL, we do today in Starter have all those letters and numbers, and those letters and numbers are the UUID, the permanent UID for that content, for the folder and for the file, and those are the long strings that we get with the system. In the full Preservica system, we do have 4 of those unique identifiers that come automatically as part of the ingest process. In Starter, this is the one that you see in the URL.
And are persistent, right? So they can be added in a catalog, for example. Yeah.
Absolutely, and they will always link to that content.
Okay, brilliant. So we've got a couple of minutes left. Can the system be configured to use a different metadata schema other than mods and Dublin core?
That's a great question. Right now, we're sticking to mods and Dublin core. After a careful evaluation and creating Starter, again, the main goal of Starter is to kickstart the value of digital preservation in your institution if you don't have it in place today. So to get content in, begin to describe it, make the case for preservation, show the value of it in a way that sometimes can be difficult to show preservation to stakeholders. This is something they can see and touch and see the value of why that's important. And to do that, we really created 2 descriptors, Dublin core because it's so common as an example of some of the fields there, and mods because it did accommodate, the LC standard accommodates fields that you might find in other standards as well, like EAD. So we can use the content as part of those 2 schemas to put in some valuable metadata for this first version of Starter. In our full Preservica products, of course, we are able to support all technical metadata and descriptive metadata in the system. I should say descriptive metadata, yes.
Okay, great. And another one, can you merge files once they've been uploaded? For example, if I have a 3-page document and I add each page separately, can I then merge them into one file?
Oh, that's a great question. Not in Starter. We do have the option to do content within an asset to change out different files in your content. So you can swap out, if you scan pages 1 through 3 and then ingest it as an asset. If you need to change out, file 2 within that asset, you can easily do that in the full versions of Preservica. But in Starter, we don't have that in the system just yet.
Okay, brilliant. Well, we've just come up to the hour. So what we'll do, as I said, is there's a few more questions to cover. So we'll post the answers and responses to those in the training resources section on the community forum. But for now, I hope you've enjoyed today's session, guys. Hope it's been useful. Please do go out there, get your first bit of content in if you haven't already. Use the try this asset that Andrew introduced earlier as well. There's a file in there that you can use to start your journey with Starter. So please go ahead, give that a go before we meet next week. As Laurie said, the next session's on Wednesday, the 27th of January, same time, same join-in link. That's an important thing to mention. So it's the same link that you joined with today from GoToWebinar. We look forward to hearing from you. There is a short survey after this webinar, 3 questions. Appreciate any feedback you can give us. But for now then, I'd like to say thank you to all of our speakers today. Thank you guys for joining us, and we look forward to hearing from you and seeing you on next week's session. Have a great day.
Thank you, David. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.